Welcome again to another episode of My Lawyer Next Door. Today we have another special guest, Mithuran Manogaran from the Bay Street Group here with us. So we're going to let Mithrin introduce himself and tell us about what he does.
Hey guys, pleasure to be on this show. I've actually been watching the first few podcasts that have already come out and you guys are doing a great job, so thanks for having me. So my name's Mithrin, as Mithu's already introduced me. I'm currently the Vice President of Business Development and a Realtor at Bay Street Group, and I'm also a team lead at the Mithuran Manogaran Real Estate Team, managing multiple realtors as well too.
All right. So I think he forgot to tell you he's a great musician. He is a very skilled violinist. He's only 27 years old, so I think this comes up to what we want to talk about today. There's a lot of young individuals who are looking into getting into the real estate business as either a realtor or a salesperson, broker, and I think hearing success stories or hearing stories from people who have done it within arm's length and recently is very powerful for their journey. So can you talk to us about your journey, how at 27 you became a VP, you built a team, and you're on pace to make 6+ figures, and how you did that?
Absolutely. So, very interesting story. If you asked me this 3 years ago, would I be here talking to Vithu on this podcast? Probably not. I didn't even know Vithu then.
Yeah.
So the world works in very funny ways. So myself personally, I went to UTSC. I did a BBA degree there. I was in the international business and co-op program there. So I worked in a lot of corporate jobs. I was with Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and a few other companies as well too. So in kind of the midst of all of that, I never felt this sense of fulfillment or kind of happiness being in these corporate roles. I always felt like I was kind of doing something, but I was just doing it because it made my parents proud, and like everyone would look at me and they're like, man, you have this cool job at Microsoft, you have this cool job at P&G, but in the back of my head I'm like, I don't enjoy this, like I'm not kind of motivated to work. That was just me personally. So I kind of got my real estate license on the side, never expected to become a realtor because as Vithu mentioned, I was also, I still am a violinist, I still actively perform and teach as well too, but I kind of saw that with my music career, it was hard to kind of monetize that and kind of make a living out of it. So I need to have something else to support or another career to kind of offset that so I could kind of enjoy the violin side of it and my career as well. So real estate kind of started, and I started off in a brokerage, and I was really struggling for my first 6 months. And then I was able to kind of work my friend referral network. One of my friends actually reached out to me and asked me to purchase and sell his home. Kind of started there, and then referral. I built a niche for myself in the investment side as well too. And fast forward, got headhunted to Bay Street Group here, and I'm a team lead and manage 5 agents and a bunch of other staff on my team right now.
All right. One of the biggest questions we have is like jumping off the cliff scenario, right? For any professional who wants to go into self-employed, it's when do they know how to leave the security of a full-time job of a P&G, a Microsoft, a cushy job to go into this? Like, what happened for you? Like, what made you want to become a full-time realtor?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. Very truthfully, I think there is no right answer to that, or there's no one correct answer for it. I'll kind of give you my take and what I think. So my story, my very first year in real estate, it was actually, being a realtor was kind of like my third job, and I still service my clients as it was my first job, but like in the sense that I was managing a full-time job, I was teaching 75 students violin and performing, and then I was also a realtor on top. So my first year was done, and I kind of saw like how I performed, and I ended up winning Rookie of the Year in my brokerage, and I actually made more money as a realtor than I did in my full-time job. So that was a huge signal for me. And I was like, wow, like it is a very lucrative career. And to be honest, I wasn't putting in full-time hours at that time yet. I was still kind of working part-time and managing all the other balls in my hand at that time. So I, in the beginning of my second year, took a huge risk, and my manager came up to me and said, hey, do you want to take a severance package? I know you're kind of exploring real estate a lot. Like, would that make sense for you? And without consulting family and friends, I kind of took that leap of faith. Now, I'm not telling viewers or realtors or anyone who's watching this that you should wait till you match your full-time income, because that could happen in a year, it could happen in 2-3 years. I think I also got a little bit lucky because the market was very hot and picking up at that time, and real estate was kind of top of mind for a lot of clients and consumers. But what I would say is it ultimately comes down to betting on yourself, and I'm kind of dropping Fred Van Vliet's tag here, but you got to bet on yourself. You got to believe in yourself, and it all comes down to what will you do when your back's against the wall. And for me I had that confidence, and I knew I was ready for it. There was a lot of difficult conversation that came with family and friends after that, but that's what I would tell people. If you could bet on yourself and you know that you're willing to put in the work and learn and add value and put yourself out there every day, then you can make that step today if you're ready for it.
Did it ever concern you about what your friends or family would say, or your significant others would say? Like, traditionally, like your brown parents would be like, "Oh, you have this great thing already lined up. Why are you becoming a realtor?" For example, did that ever cross into your life?
Absolutely. So I will tell you guys that when I did leave my job, I actually didn't even tell my parents. So it was work from home. I remember sitting in my home office and my manager offered this to me and I said yes right away. I didn't even ask her for 5 minutes. I didn't ask her for 10 minutes. I'm like, yes, sign me up. I'm like, I'll take it. Let me know when I'm getting paid. Let me know how much I got to pay the taxes, whatever. Like, just sign me up. I'm good. Let me know what I got to do to leave. So I wouldn't recommend that to all my viewers because there was a lot of backlash that came from it, a lot of surprised reactions. The South Asian family, the prototypical South Asian family, like we're taught to go to school, get a corporate job, the 9 to 5, kind of go there, make that money, climb the corporate ladder, or pursue professions as like a doctor, a lawyer, engineer. Real estate, especially being a realtor, there can be some like stigmas to it, and especially with the older generations. So I will tell you, yeah, like my parents were shocked. They were supportive, but at the same time, they were just like, "Are you sure?" Right? Maybe you just had a lucky year, Mithrin. Like, are you sure you want to take this risk and do it? And I was very confident. I was actually very confident to the point that in January, after my first deal, one of my clients was looking for a job, and I actually said, "Hey, can you come be my admin?" There's a huge risk to that because technically I'm unemployed till my next deal, right? And I think at that time I probably only did like 20, 30K year to date, but I agreed to pay someone much more money than that throughout the year, right?
All right, so let's segue. My mind's racing right now, so we have two places. So okay, we'll come back to the team building part.
Yeah.
But I think what I want to another thing I want to talk about is like a lot of realtors face a challenge. The first 2 years are critical. There's agents who are making well over $500,000, have been established, who have like 15, 20 years in the industry, are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing. How did you not only survive but flourish? Because from what I know of you, you didn't do too much marketing.
No.
But yet you flourished. So what was your secret sauce?
Absolutely. So my first 2 years, I actually did zero marketing. One of the things I really struggled with was because if you go to my personal Instagram, I have a lot of like music videos, and then all of a sudden transitioning to a realtor, like I didn't want to look like one of those get rich quick scheme kind of guys, right? So I was like battling myself, like should I be posting my realtor stuff? Should I not? So I actually had a $0 marketing spend my first 2 years. But what I would say is I really did a lot of work on learning about the realtors that were successful, whether it be studying their Instagram, their Facebooks, how they were listing properties, how they were presenting their value proposition. And what I kind of learned about realtors is, and I know someone famous has said this, but I'm going to quote them here, is we're zebras, right? So from afar we all look the same, but when you come close, every stripes on a zebra is unique. So how do you stand out? So that's where I really started doing my homework, and I think the key word that I'm going to drop here today is value. Especially as an investment-focused realtor, it's all about value. Like, do you add value, and is it genuine value with genuine data, concrete facts, and numbers that could back what you're presenting to your clients? And I think when you could add value and show that you can make someone money, especially as an investment realtor, they're gonna go and scream your name in a million places. And those referrals, guess what? They're priceless.
I think that's key because, there's so many of these like discount realtors. And I always tell like my team when people ask for discounts or like other places where I give talks to is like, don't devalue yourself, your value, your knowledge, whatever you're offering, right? And I think that's key because the fact, like, if you could show me logically that, hey, this is a great investment or a decision for you because of X, Y, Z, and here's my research, and you could show that you're prepared, you're thorough, I don't think you need to be a discount agent.
Not at all.
I think those discount agents are one because they just go through the motions, but really don't add value to the table that someone who's not discounting does. Because like from what I've talked to some like successful agents, they're like, we don't discount because we know what we bring to the table, but we also make sure that the client understands what we bring to the table.
Absolutely.
What we know or how good we are, the other side has to see it too. So they say we make sure that they see the value in going with a Mithrin, a value in going with this red diamond agent, or value in going with this person. Because so I think it's very key for you young realtors, don't get into this trap of being a discount agent, because you are not going to like what you're doing, because the clients who are asking for the discounts, they're more price sensitive, and they don't get they're more difficult to work with. Like traditionally, like I've seen it, the people who ask for discounts, like from my own experience, the people who come here and just like pick up the phone and ask for is like, what's your price, can I get a discount, are tend to be usually the hardest files or the hardest people to work with. Like, you know, there's a saying, it's like, you know, from a $5,000 client, they'll give you like 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs of requirements. The guy who's giving you a $50,000 check is like, you know, thank you, good job, here's your check, bye.
Absolutely.
It's like, you know, focus on the other side. So you young agents, I think, really take in what Mithrin is saying and build that value. What makes you special? And if that means that, you know what, shutting up and going away for a month and really focusing on one market, like the Scarborough Bungalow or wherever you are, and building your niche, building your knowledge base, that's what you got to do.
Absolutely.
Because there's 14,000, 15,000, 16,000 realtors now.
Yeah, probably growing.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know, a lot of people, like a lot of like aunties and uncles who like lost their jobs over the pandemic just became realtors, right? That doesn't make them good. So I think like any profession, not only real estate, focus your value.
Yeah.
And
I will say something with being a realtor. You know, it's pretty public knowledge how much most realtors make on a transaction. So people think it's always easy money. And that goes both ways, both the client and potential realtors coming into the market. And when you choose a realtor that doesn't offer you discounts, so like myself personally included, it's not just about the houses we show you and the offer we put in. That's not how you should calculate the return on time or investment for us. Well, there's a lot of costs that get associated, but it's the research. It's a lot of the work that goes behind the scene that you're compensating for, and that you're choosing to work with this realtor, right?
The skills you've gained, right? Like your negotiation skills, your market skills, like, you know, for you converting a single to a duplex, having that knowledge, not only buying the property for the client, but taking them through the duplex, the conversion process alone will make them back more than the 2.5% they pay most agents. Right?
Absolutely.
But like, how many agents have that knowledge? No, okay, city permits, there's issues with the planners, architects, dump bin. Like we're laughing because we worked on these things, so we know like it takes experience.
It does.
It takes time, but like you could build it.
It does.
Focus, build, and I think you get there. So I think that's key. Now let's jump ship. All right. One of the other big topics you hit on, and I think me and you kind of sync in this because we kind of took the same amount of risk, is the team building aspect. You know, in January you did a deal. You made, let's say, you made good money on it, but not enough to pay for that staff member. But you committed to that staff member, and exactly as you said, you don't know when your next paycheck is coming in. As a realtor, you're self-employed, but you're committing to these expenses. What made you want to get an admin, and what made you want to build a team? Because there's agents for 15 years who don't have a team.
Absolutely. So I think the admin piece, it all comes down to systemization, right? So at the end of the day, whether it be you, me, or top producing realtors, or anyone for that matter, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And it's key that we're optimizing our time and using our time to maximize our business and our business opportunities and capture that. I think one of the biggest things as a realtor that, once again, probably a lot of people don't know, is there's a lot of things that go behind the scene, whether it be paperwork, prospecting, going and meeting with clients, preparing listings, like prospecting areas, doing your research. Like, there's only so much you could do in a day, right? And you have to learn to delegate. One of the things I noticed was, the beginning of my second year, I actually hired an admin. Probably not a good financial move when you think about like my balance sheets at that time, but it was probably one of the best decisions I made. I'll tell you two things. Number one was she freed up a lot of time for me. So that admin I had at the time, not only did she help me with a lot of my paperwork and everything, she actually supported me on a lot of the marketing posts on Instagram, on kind of sending out emails, calling clients, all that stuff. So it bought me back a lot of time, but also just optically, right? I think when you show that professionalism and your clients see that you're actually maintaining a full-time staff member and compensating for them, they're not going to come to you and be like, hey man, like can you cut me a deal here, right? They understand that you're incurring and like taking on a lot of expenses to give them an optimal experience.
Yep.
Right? So I kind of went with that. I'm also a huge believer, and this whole team that I ended up building, I'll be very honest with you, it wasn't in my books initially. It kind of came over time. So once again, I think with the team itself was what started happening was my business grew to a point where it was just too much for me to handle on my own. And I think one of the key things is when your business is in a growth stage, you want to make sure that you're growing properly and servicing all clients equally. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you forget about clients or you're not servicing a client properly. Now, one of the biggest things I preach to my agents is we treat a lease client the same as a $100 million client. Right? Like we don't treat them any different because of the size of business. We offer them all the same service because guess what? Your clients who are now tenants today are going to be buyers and sellers down the road. And it's about how you build a long-term relationship with your clients. So we want them every time they think real estate to come to us. So that's how kind of the team building process happened. But one of the recommendations I do have to realtors is I think a lot of realtors or a lot of entrepreneurs are too caught up in penny pinching, if that's the right term to use. And we're too caught up in saving money. But sometimes you want to pay 10 in order to get 100.
I can't agree with you more because I had this debate internally when I was growing. We kind of are in the same growth stage. I came in, I started, I got more business than I knew what to do with at the beginning. Great problem, but
it's a good problem.
But it's chaos.
Yeah.
And chaos is not sustainable. So I had to invest in people, but even like you got to invest in the right people. So we had a rotating like a door system almost until we found our core, and then when you find your core, it doesn't matter the money. You pay them, you keep them because talent is so hard to get. So don't, I think for business owners and small business owners and realtors, don't be fearful of investing into your business. This is like I think of it this as the gasoline to the car kind of thing, because you could only do so much. But now, when you have this, you could be here recording a podcast, but work is getting done.
Absolutely.
And that's where you need to get to.
I will say one of the cons, like especially for someone like me who started hiring really early in my career and kind of like, I was always a believer, like when you have a hot hand, run with it.
Yes.
And I still am a believer of that.
Yeah.
Always run with it because I do believe that the hot hand may not last forever, so you got to run with it when you can. Now, I will tell you guys, like one of the cons, especially with me, was it's hard to find good talent. And a lot of times the ROI might not be there when you hire someone or you onboard. Like, there's been people that I brought on and the ROI wasn't there, right? I ended up paying money and a lot of money, but I wasn't getting the service I expected. There's sometimes companies that you may work with, third-party companies, to provide some sort of service to you, and it might not be there. And once again, that's going to happen. But the key thing is, as an entrepreneur, is not to lose motivation, but rather say, here was where I made mistakes in the hiring process or in the interviewing process, and here's what I need to have better next time, and you learn from it. Right?
I think like even with you, like you were so selective on your agents, and there's a reason for that. It's like you want to tell them like to be part of Mithrin's team is not just a sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you look for, or for agents, young agents who want to join successful teams? I even on another podcast I had with Dill, you know him, like even with his team, it's not a sign-up sheet. Like there's certain requirements or things that you successful agents look for. I think what I'm going for is like, where should these young realtors focus on developing, or what kind of skills to be able to join a successful team?
Absolutely. So with my team, like we currently have 4 agents right now, and then 5 including me. So I have 4 agents in the team. So one of the things that one of the reasons I also ended up making a team was I had a lot of people reaching out to me going like, hey man, like you're really successful, you're young, you're vibrant, like you're killing it, can you teach me? So I started getting a niche for that, and at one point not a niche, but I started getting noticed for that, and at one point I was like getting like a message every week, and now it's almost I get one daily where new agents are asking if I'm hiring. Now the reason I'm very selective is because I don't want to be I don't want to say discount's not the right word, but I just don't want to be like a bring everybody on kumbaya kind of brokerage. I really want to bring on agents who resonate with my ideology of being a successful agent and are willing to put in the work. I think that's the key thing. I actually turned down an agent who did $250K last year because I felt that they didn't have the right attitude. And I think attitude is the key thing in being a successful entrepreneur. Now, one of my agents, he actually last year did $17,000 his whole year. And out of all the agents I interviewed when I first started my team, he actually had the lowest GCI last year. And I took him. And I remember when I told him I'm taking you, he's like, you're crazy. Like, you're actually taking me? And I'm like, yeah. And I'll tell you, and I'm using him as examples because it all comes down to attitude and your willingness to learn. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs and realtors are very hard-headed, if I could say that. And we need to break that, and you really need to be open to learning. I think one thing I love about you and me is like whenever me and you talk about business or anything, we always still add value to each other by teaching each other about something. Like you tell me something, I tell you something.
Yeah.
We always learn off each other. And I think that like that attitude to learn, the hunger, the willingness to kind of put yourself out there and put yourself in front of clients and get uncomfortable, I think is important. But I think one of the biggest traits I love in all my agents is the humbleness and willingness to help people. At the end of the day, being a realtor, I believe we're really blessed to help people with probably the biggest transaction of their life. And we owe it to them to give them the top service. So I'll end up by saying that agent that I ended up taking that did 17,000 last year, I think we've already paid him out year to date, if I'm not wrong, about 180K. So he's on pace for 300K this year, and I'm really proud of him.
And that agent had one of the steals for his purchase client in Pickering this spring. Like a lot of us who invest in that neighborhood were like, wow, like who's a co-op agent who got this deal done for the client? And when I saw it was your agent, I was like, shit, from the time I met him to this deal, I'm like, I'm proud. I hit him up. I'm like, yo, I hit up the agent. I'm like, yo, that was a great deal. So I think that's what shows you, like, given a good team, good leader, and good innate qualities, right? Like
Absolutely.
These are like just things that your personality has to be. You could become really well. So okay, that was a great episode. I think that was a loaded episode. So guys, stay tuned. We're gonna have way more content with this special man right here. So until next time, adios from the team at My Lawyer Next Door.